Thank you. Thank you so much, Janet. It's so wonderful to be here today and to hear from so many others in the field. And I also want to acknowledge some of my colleagues at the National Endowment for the Arts. We have council members of the National Council, Rick Lowe and Maria Rosario Jackson, Aaron Dworkin, and Joy Harjo, from whom you will hear pretty soon, who is a former council member, and also from our NEA team, Patrice Walker-Powell. You've left a legacy that is going to be impossible to fulfill your shoes, but thank you so much for your work. We're so grateful for all that you've done. And also from our NEA team, we have here, or have been here, Bill O'Brien and Michael Orlov and Sunil Iyengar and Jason Schubach and Michael Kaloran. These are all rock stars, and I hope that everybody here will get to know them and their work as well. I must say thank you to each of you attending, because the work that you are doing to support the arts is so important, and your giving provides a stabilizing force for the arts. You bring ideas to fruition, and you ensure that creativity is not going to be crippled by a financial burden. And part of keeping this arts ecosystem healthy requires bringing together different perspectives between people and between organizations and across disciplines. And the arts are such a powerful unifying force. They're so unique in their ability to bridge opposing perspectives and still bring people together. And why would we want to bring together different ways of thinking? Because by doing so, we are creating this space where new and innovative and insightful ideas can form. I first discovered the unifying power of the arts as a child. I was born into multiple cultures, often in the midst of seemingly opposite perspectives. And if I had not been engaged with the arts, I don't know that I would have been able to make sense of my own life. My mom and dad were from China. My dad came to America in 1948 to get his PhD, and while the communists entered China the next year in 1949, he was over here in the United States in school, and he knew that he would not be able to return to his home country. So he had to remake his life here in the United States from what he knew before. My mother was a teenager when the communists entered her hometown of Qingdao in 1949. And her parents made a bold decision to sneak her out of China so she could have her freedom. So she had just graduated from high school, and she was at the age where she could do anything she wanted with her life. And so they slipped her out on a train by herself with no ticket, a train that would take 8 days to get to Hong Kong. And they said goodbye to each other, and they didn't know if they would ever see each other again, which they never did. So she escaped, and ultimately she attended college in the United States, and she met my father and remade her life here. I, on the other hand, was born in Oklahoma, and I grew up in Arkansas, 11,000 miles away from China, and equally as far away from the traditional Chinese way of life, and I juggled living in two opposing cultures simultaneously. My parents wanted me to assimilate because they thought I would fit in school better. And they spoke Mandarin to each other at home, but I only spoke English. They liked to eat bok choy and noodles. I liked to eat pizza and corn dogs. So my parents weren't really opposed to the arts, but they didn't place a lot of emphasis on them either, other than making me take piano lessons. But when I was 9, my father died of cancer. Now, many 9-year-olds lack the vocabulary to articulate their grief over the loss of a parent. And this was doubly compounded for me, since Mandarin had been my parents' native language, but not mine. But when I played the piano, I found an avenue to express myself, because music had the ability to soothe me, and although I often felt as if I had one foot in each of my cultures, music gave me this world that was fully my own, and I felt like I belonged. So playing the piano didn't just provide me with an opportunity to learn a skill. It gave me these tools to cope with unspeakable grief and to find a way to connect the different pieces of myself. And that is the power of the arts. They're not isolated from society, and they're not a luxury for the elite. Instead, they're channels of expression. They give us this opportunity to embrace different perspectives at the same time without being threatening, and in doing so, they instill our lives with deeper meaning and value. And as an individual, music helped me harmonize my own childhood. And on a larger scale, the arts can synthesize different perspectives and fields of study, opening avenues for new collaborations which earlier may have seemed as if they did not fit together. And at the National Endowment for the Arts, we have capitalized on this potential, and we're increasingly interested in projects that foster connections between the arts and other fields. So consider the partnership that the NEA formed with the Walter Reed Military Medical Center to bring writing and music therapy to our military service members who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and other psychological health conditions. And these conditions are sometimes labeled the invisible wounds of war. They may be hidden from our eyes, but they're certainly present. And creative arts therapists work with patients to give them new channels to process and express their combat experience. And as a result, creative arts therapy has now become part of their standard care because of the transformation. So neither art and medicine, nor art and the military are traditional pairings. But thanks to this collaboration, the arts are helping to transform lives and in some cases save them. A few weeks ago, I did go to South Dakota, Janet, and I visited the Arts Earth Center in Freeman, South Dakota, which received an NEA grant through the Our Town grant program. This is a rural community that has a population of 1,300 residents, but it's thinking really big, and it's developed an innovative plan to create new cultural and economic opportunities. At the Freeman Arts Earth Center, the worlds of art and agriculture will live under the same roof, and they're using locally grown food and the arts to nourish residents in body and in creativity. A commercial greenhouse will coexist with a 400-seat theater and a 100-seat recital hall, and the entire site will be powered by renewable energy and will equally support the arts, local produce, and agricultural research. This is a community that knows it doesn't just have to be an arts district or just a farming town. It can be both at the same time. And in New York, another NEA grantee, Rhizome, brings together technology and the arts by curating online exhibitions and hosting digital discussions with artists from around the world, and they created an online archive of electronic media art. And the folks at Rhizome realized that code and software are just as important artistic tools as easels and paintbrushes. So they're not replacing an old way of creating art with a new one. Instead, they're merging art and technology together to increase the options that people have for self-expression. Human development, agriculture, technology, these are all operating in different spheres, but each found a common ground with the arts. And by bridging these worlds, we've developed new treatments to heal the men and women who risk their lives for the nation, and new ways to enrich our communities, and new mediums to help us understand ourselves and express our creativity. So by pooling the minds and the resources of different fields, we're opening the door for innovation and opportunity and the creation of value and meaning and bridging different perspectives. It's not about what you can do or what I can do separately. It's about what we as grant makers in the arts are doing together, each in our own ways. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you for letting me join you today.